Then when I sold my phone company,
A solopreneur now after a long 30-year career. Right? People have really great growth mindset. 10 things inside of 1 hour.
I'm just busy. I can't because, like, if you can't stop and go away, the fish doesn't see the water that it's swimming in. It's just always there.
Hi, I'm Walter. I'm the Dutch mentor, and welcome back to the Smart Performance Podcast. S for self-care, M for mindful growth, A for adaptive problem solving, R for rhythmic operation, T for, of course, building that thriving community, and P for performance. Today, we're going to be talking with Dominic about going from chaos to clarity. And we have seen it so many times that people have, all kinds of things to do, and everything is equal, but therefore nothing is really important or nothing really gets done. And that's the part of the reason why 60-70% of our initiatives fail to ever reach its fullest potential. So stick with us over the next 15 minutes. You'll get some real actionable takeaways on how you can create clarity for you and for your business. Dominic, thank you for being here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in the sales. I started in sales. Then when I sold my phone company, the only thing I really liked was training. So I did that for a number of years, got very good at training, but also trained a lot of technology. So I learned a lot of lessons from training technology that I bring now to my work with entrepreneurs that are busy, but not building. So that's kind of the message that I have, is that you can be busy, but not building. And there's something you can do about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Is that as a solopreneur now after a long 30-year career, I can certainly identify with that. But I've had the opportunity to work with a bunch of startup companies, and it is often people who are absolutely brilliant, right? People have really great growth mindset. But the two things that happen is that one, they have a horrible time of letting go and trusting others. And two is they want to do, 10 things inside of 1 hour. And that often leads to poor outcomes, right? Nothing gets done, or it gets done very poorly, and or they burn out over time. So tell me a little bit about your journey, your discovery process, your experience with your clients, on what that looks like, really, before we get into the solution piece of it.
So it looks like normal that being in business is, I'm just busy. I can't because, like, if you can't stop and go away on a 3-day vacation without your phone or laptop, that's the indicator. Because the part that um, most entrepreneurs don't realize is, like, it's a lot of it's invisible to them because they live with it so much. It's sort of what they used to say: the fish doesn't see the water that it's swimming in. It's just always there. So the challenge is to get an entrepreneur to step back and go, oh, there's a possibility of me not having to do all the things that I think I must, can do, instead of all the things that really are going to move the needle to what I started this whole thing for.
So it's interesting you say that, is that often pride and ego on the part of the entrepreneur, and they often have very large egos,
Yeah.
which is good in some ways, but not necessarily good in other ways. Is that they stand in their own way of progress. That sense of superiority, only I can do this. I think that the biggest challenge question I put to anybody is that, make up a list of all the things that you do, and every time you do something, you need to really look in the mirror and say, do I need to do this? So now that we've outlined the problem statement, right, that is often the individual. So what is it that you have done with them to find solutions and actions that they can take?
From a practical standpoint, one of the things I've been promoting for a couple of years is I basically unstuck their CRM, if they even have a CRM, right? But it's really their customer acquisition systems that are they're born out of the initial idea. They work on that, and then they just get better at doing that same thing instead of building it with the idea that someone else, this is an entrepreneur really is building all the jobs for other people, not themselves. But yet they don't tend to build that way because that's where they get initial success. So I really look at the systems, right? And they don't even realize that they don't have systems because they're the system. And that's what I try to do is separate them from the system so they can actually see what's happening in their business and not be caught up inside what's happening in their business. So working on their business instead of in their business
Yeah.
is a common phrase that people say.
Yeah, very interesting way of putting it. And I want to remind the audience here too is that this is not just the entrepreneur that's starting a new IT startup or a cookie bake shop. This goes for any leader in any position, anywhere. That is very natural when you go from a technical ability to leading, that you
Sure.
get stuck into this mode of wanting to continue to do, because that's what your area of familiarity is. So stepping back, and I love the question you posted. What would happen if I step away for 3 days on a vacation on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? And if you can honestly answer the place would fall apart, you need to do something about that, because the sense of urgency for change is pretty rapid. So with that said, what is the starting point? So we give the audience an understanding. What is the first thing they need to do to develop that understanding?
So when I was, I'm bringing this back to I did a leadership training class that was 5 days long inside corporate America. So most of my experience actually translates to Fortune 13 and below companies, right? So it's not just the little guy, it happens everywhere. But here's the quote that I got from one of the VPs in the international company I was working with. If you want to know what you're doing, if you want to know if what you're doing is important, stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. If nobody bitches and complains, guess what? It wasn't important. And that's really the test. You think that what you like, it's the Covey and the Roosevelt model, right? Important, urgent, and all that quadrant. You can't really tell what's important because it's all important to you. That's where my ADHD leader stuff comes from, right? Everything in ADHD is right here in front of me. So setting that distance and priority is the hardest thing for a lot of entrepreneurs, because they create an ADHD world, whether they have it or not, right? That's why a lot of ADHD people are entrepreneurs, because they live and breathe. It is a representation. So if you really want to know if, because everything starts with what's most important, right? Breathing, that's important. If you don't breathe, you're done in minutes. If you don't drink water, you're done in days. If you don't eat food, you're done in weeks. So we have a hierarchy of needs. Physically, emotionally, spirit, all those things. And your business does too. If you don't know what's most important, then you have to identify that. And the only way to do that is to stop everything. And then you'll know. The latest and loudest that'll be there. Then you can figure it out. But a lot of times we delude ourselves as entrepreneurs as what we're doing is important. And, it is ego, but it's not like a bad ego. Ego is the driver. Here's the thing I used to live by. Is commitment before ego, or is your ego bigger than your commitment? You see, you're going to have an ego as an entrepreneur. And I work with men in this regard all the time. Men are ego driven naturally, right? Women are typically relationship driven naturally. Now, we all can adapt and change to some degree. Women are better than men because they have a full brain. But if you're not looking at what the bigger context, the bigger system, and I learned this in systems thinking when I went back to college, is that you have to take a step back from the system in order to see the connecting points of every system. And every system at a higher and higher level is connected to something else. And so where's that prime point you're looking at? And for an entrepreneur, can you take a vacation without your phone and your laptop and have things work better than when you were there?
Listen, I think it's a real great assessment tool. And the only word of caution is no different when we talk about process improvement, because both are very much related to each other, is that in Six Sigma we use an equation called Y equals the function of X. The thing is that when you stop doing things, don't stop everything at the same time, because you will not be able to discern which one is you need to get rid of. And the same thing when you make an improvement, don't manipulate too many axes at the same time unless there is truly no dependability on each of the axes. Because what happens if you do that, you make 5 improvements. Hey, it's working, but now I'm forced to do 5 all of them because I don't know which one actually worked, right? So I set the standard when I work with people. I said, listen, write down everything you do and create 3 columns. What is value adding? Right? What is the customer willing to pay for? what is non-value adding, but regulatory required, and then the question is asked is that, do I need to do it? And it is amazing. And I almost guarantee that I can save 8 hours of work per week for each person. And I love to take that to the next level as a leader. If I can walk away, can I walk away? Yes or no? Because it's really, I mean, it is such a great exercise to do for people to see where they need to make the mental mind shift to that. So step number 2, now that they have realized that some things can change, what would you do to hardwire these things to make sure that they're not only doing it, but they're sustaining it? Because we're really good at starting things. We're not so good at sustaining things.
That's really great. I like that. I'm going to take that sustaining piece because that's a word I was using in some of my marketing. That we're good at starting and then better good at starting, right? We're good at starting. The sustaining is great. So again, once you stop doing something and realize you don't have to do it, now you got to find who's the right person to do it, not me. Now, AI is a big tool that people use, great, but who's going to program the AI? And, as a professional trainer, I'll just put this out there. AI can be trained to do anything you want it to do. But if you're a crappy trainer to people, you'll probably be a crappy trainer to AI. So get some help.
Yes.
This is where systems are, the way I look at systems, they are pre-decided inputs and outputs. And that's one of the aspects of being a leader, right? You pre-decide. When you have the full capacity of your brain, you make the decisions about what's going to happen. When stress is high, you've already made the decision. That frees you up. Where most leaders mess up is they try to make decisions in a high stress. Well, actually, they get accustomed to making decisions in a high stress environment. It's actually harder for some to unwire that and get calm, relaxed, and make decisions because you remember your neurology, your physiology remembers at the state it learned. So if you're learning in a high stress, it's going to be hard. So sometimes I got to walk them down the hill a little bit and then create that high. So in my physical workshops, I'll create some high stress so they can access that decision model, and then we can bring it down and evaluate it with our more capacity in our brain. And that's just not really, honestly, it happens with community. You can learn in a community of practice because the recognition factor, I can see you doing what I do, high stress, but I'm not stressed. I can give you perspective and feedback. And if you look, you only need 4 or 5 people that'll tell you the truth, but they got to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And you got to tell them the truth. And if you can create an environment like that, you can create, Napoleon Hill kind of talked about it as the mastermind. And a lot of people talk about masterminds in the world, but they're not really the kind of mastermind that was described in Think and Grow Rich and other tools. So it's more of I create accountability teams amongst groups of like-minded, committed, not interested, but committed individuals that are, looking to get what they want by supporting other people with their perspective. And the term we use is, if 3 people tell you you're dead, lay down. Stop fighting, right? You're fighting the thing that everybody sees but you. So we tell the emperor he's naked every single time.
Yeah.
And I encourage, and look, you don't have to do it with me, but find 4 or 5 other people like you that can see you, that you're willing to show, so that you can get that perspective and maybe help you listen and see something that you didn't see before.
Yeah, it's interesting. People tend to react to any feedback they get from one person. I said, listen, stop doing that. It's a waste of time. You shouldn't care that much. But if 3 people come and tell you the same thing, right, I use the analogy, my hair looks funny, so go screw yourself. So my hair is funny, okay, whatever. And the third person said, my hair looks funny, I better go to the bathroom and look in the mirror.
Look at your hair.
My hair is funny, right? And so that's one. And the second thing is that we love to compare ourselves to our reality, but in reality, we really need to make sure that we look at it from how we are viewed by others, right? The perception of us is what you have to manage over time. This is a very interesting conversation. Only to go from chaos to clarity starts with I, right? It really is to be more introspective. So where can people find you, Dominic?
So 2 places. I've got websites. So I got my business at salesand technology.com, and you can book a time on that calendar link. And anytime I'm available, anybody can book a time with me. I don't charge for it, that kind of thing. So I also control my availability.
Yeah.
The other project that I'm running, that it's a little passion project I'm starting while I'm doing these podcasts, it's the ADHDleader.com, THE ADHDleader.com. And that is the community I'm building called Momentum, where, it only takes one decision to break inertia. And if you can make that decision, come visit the website, opt in. We have a community and we're working together to support each other in that community environment where I don't have any, you can find resources, but you can get resources, but mostly it's just asking. This is what I used to do a talk called 7 Ridiculously Bad Habits of Ineffective Leaders and One Simple Fix. And that simple fix, save you the time to watch the video and all that, is asking for help. I need help is the most powerful tool you have. And if you use that tool and the only response, like Marshall Goldsmith, the great leadership coach that's out there, and I teach us, if anybody gives you feedback, the only two words you can say in order to keep that feedback loop alive is to say thank you. And remember, you don't have to do anything with the feedback. Your hair looks funny, you can leave. That might be your intention. Doesn't matter. Just say thank you. It'll make you a better person to other people anyway, right? And I used to joke when I was single, women would complain about something I did, and I'd go, thank you for noticing. I'm not changing. Hey, you're a jerk. Hey, thank you for noticing. I don't have to hide that from you anymore. I took the snarkiness off of it for corporate. Hey, da-da-da-da-da. You're doing this, you're doing that. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. Anything you want to say in that regard, that train of thought is the only thing that'll help you actually start to see something that you just listen. You decide if you change or not. But don't try to control other people by telling them how to tell you things. Just say thank you.
The funny thing you say that is that, when that happens, often people get trapped into the lower brain, fight or flight and fight
The
back.
reptile kicks in.
Thank you, right? And take that. So very good. What a parting thought, Dominic?
Parting thought. Life is the dash. Everybody's got a start date. I used to say this in a company that did manage contracts. Everybody's got a start date in their company. We all know that. We see every tombstone with a start date and an end date. And the only thing we all have in common is that little dash in between. You have a choice to live that dash the way that's going to make you, the way my buddy says it, get up in the morning excited and go to bed fulfilled. Every day is a choice and every day is done. You have an opportunity to try it again and live that dash the best you can.
It's a very good way to look at it. And I said, always have to remember that the only thing you will never get back in the world is time. So you better use it appropriately. Dominic, thank you for joining the show today.
Thanks
and
so much.
Again, listen, this conversation is great, good information. But if you don't take a meaningful action with that, then you will have forgotten about this conversation by tomorrow morning. So again, take action. Go to the Apple Store, download the mobile app. You can have a great starting point there. You can find all of the podcasts that give you golden nuggets of information you can take action on. And again, we'll see you the next episode. Dominic, have a phenomenal day, and thank you for sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course.